All right, here we go. Hood politics. This is a special day because it gets to be really like, this is an example of when I'm taking a break. Like, this is my own personal source of like mental health. Like, I know it's corny when people say go touch grass, but like, this is how I touch grass. Is my man Mangesh out here. Man, please introduce yourself, and then I'm gonna brag about you. But you just go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go.
Sure. My name is Mangesh. I go by Mango sometimes. I co-founded a magazine called Mental Floss when I was in college and did that for a long time. And now I've got a show called Part-Time Genius and a little podcast network called Kaleidoscope that's mostly focused on like science content.
Yeah. Well, you should be cited for misinformation on this idea of like a small podcast network. Like, you lying. That's not small. It's incredible. You know, the types of shows that are on there. So first, from a fanboy perspective, this show's going to be kind of like a grab bag. I'm just going really like, I hate the term pick your brain because I just feel like, yeah, that's called consulting. Like, I'm gonna pick my brain. Yeah, I don't know if you've got that before. People like, hey man, can I just like buy you a beer, buy you coffee, man? Pick your brain. You're like, so for the you're just gonna pay for my 20 years of experience with a cup of coffee? Nah, fam. I don't know. Did anybody ever ask you that?
Yeah, I mean, I never mind because like a lot of people gave me a lot of advice along the way, and a lot of people like really helped us and rooted for us, and that was huge. And so like I never mind having a conversation with someone, never mind having like a coffee with someone, but the big thing for me is when they make it a lot of work for you and they don't and so like this one person was like, hey, would you mind like listening to a show of mine and like giving me notes? And I was like, already that's a little bit of work,
man. Yeah,
but you know, it was like a friend of a friend. I was like, sure, I could do that, but just like pick out the episode for me. And they wouldn't, and they just kept being like, "Oh, you know, I've got this massive catalog, so you find one that you like." And it was like, if you're gonna ask for someone's help, just make it as easy as possible for them, you know?
Yes, for sure. I think that's you picking up what I'm throwing down here, where I'm just like, it's not so much like, you know, my business model is generally just be a good hang. You know, and like, you know, and I'm not gonna like, and just be a good hang. Like, I'm not gonna like, if we're going out for coffee, like, I'm not gonna invoice you, or nor am I gonna be like, you know, we can't talk about that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, like, you know, if you're gonna give me game, you're gonna give me game. You know, I you know, obviously I'm from I come from Black people, you know what I mean? And that's part of our culture, is that you give each other game, you know what I mean? But anyway, this show is really just like, I am essentially just gonna go all over the place because I find what you do and the way that you've showed up publicly more attuned to what's going on inside my head rather than like what I'm putting out. So I can't tell you. Then I feel like, especially with like the subject matter that we cover on the show, like I try to cover very serious things with a type of sort of levity that kind of like holds some of this stuff loosely, in the sense that like, as existential, especially as the season we're in now, we are also really just, we're spinning on a rock, like, and not even an important rock. You know, like, it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, this, like, it's also not that serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I try to like put somewhat of a sense of scale to what we're going through. And the way that I personally do that is I often look to science, you know what I'm saying? And just remind myself of like what a binary star is. You're saying two black holes that got connected on accident. Like what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when there's dust clouds that are not measured in distance, they're measured in time. Like this,
Yeah.
how tall is this dust cloud? It's 5 light years tall. Like, wait, it's so tall that you don't use distance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I try
Yeah,
to
yeah.
remind myself of stuff like that like puts things in perspective for me. Obviously I say that while being in a house with plumbing and running water and electricity, but it's still a practice I've had. Anyway, I got to start with mental flaws because I can't tell you how many times I've paid for the Wi-Fi on a flight just so I could go to mental floss. Like, just to like,
What? That's incredible.
I'm like, I just want like, it's the most like mind blowing, and also it's this is why I was so excited to do this show. I was like, dude, is he really down to do my show? Like, I know like we have a lot of dope shows on the network, you know what I'm saying, that like have bigger audiences, but I'm like he don't know what this man means to me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That
so to start with mental floss, it's like the combination of this is mind-blowing information that everybody needs to know, and also this is mind-numbing, like brainlessness that like also doesn't matter. Like how those two things, I just don't so I
yeah.
need to know a little
I
bit of history of mental floss. Like,
I love that so much. So a couple things. One thing that's really funny is that like the summer that my friend Will Pearson, who you probably know
yeah,
from
of
the
course, my
podcast
boss.
network,
Yeah.
yeah, we talked about starting Metal Floss, and I was like, should I do this or should I like? I have a friend who's like who's really good at freestyling. Another
Yeah.
friend who's a drummer who like had taken lessons from Max Roach.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, like, should I be in this hip hop band or should
Let's
I work
go.
on metal
Let's go.
plus?
Oh, I knew I liked you. He's like, I was gonna be a rapper. I don't know if you guys know this. I
I
started
have
off rapping.
no rap skill, but I can play the keys and like put beats together. And so,
Amazing.
Anyway, so the idea behind Metal Floss was Will and I were in college and we were freshmen, and there were everyone used to come back from their classes and they would talk about like the craziest shit they learned, right? Like everything from like the fact that the Bronx Zoo had a pygmy in it for years, like the fact that like anything from like string theory to economic theory to whatever. And it was like, but it was really just the most fascinating stuff and the stuff you want to hear. And part of what we realized was like, like my dad was out of work. We were taking all these loans to go to college. Like I was going to have to get a job to like, that felt like probably pre-law. So something that was like, destined to be very specific. And what Will and I were saying was like, after you graduate, like where do you learn? Where do you have time to learn? Like you're so focused on this one thing, and even getting to that, right? Like you have to major in one thing. You have to specifically like go deep on something. But like, where do you get the time to like engage with the incredible richness of stories and knowledge and stuff that's out there? And he and I had this idea. We were like, well, what if it just felt like sitting? What if you could get a magazine in the mail and you could like skim it, and just reading it felt like sitting with your favorite professors at a bar where they're just telling you stories, right? They're telling you the best things, the most interesting things. And it's not like comprehensive, but it gets you to be engaged in a topic, right? Like it gets you to like, to want to know more about a certain subject. And so that's kind of what we did. And we were like naive and cocky and like, 20 years old. And we put out a campus edition, and we Googled a book called How to Make a Magazine, written by Mr. Magazine. And we followed it page by page. And like part of
brilliant.
Part of it really was so like we put out a campus edition. We thought like, let's try to make this, spend our senior year just trying to get it to Barnes and Noble and Borders and stuff, and we figured out how, and we put it out on stands right before that summer of 2001, and then 9/11 happened, and we were like, this is kind of end of our dream. We're gonna have to like go to law school or whatever, like figure out something else. And what we found was that, when the world's in turmoil, like people need a break. Like, and it's not that like you shouldn't be paying attention to things, but sometimes you just do need a break. And this magazine was a break for people, and it made them feel good about learning in a way.
Yes.
And so like that was really joyous. And we, in the beginning, it was like my mom, Will's mom, and 200 of our mom's friends who subscribed to the magazine. Yes. And
you bought my first album. Like, my auntie, baby, I'm so proud of you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yep.
Completely. Yep. And but we made sure to reach out to every single person who reached out to us. And so like there was this older woman from a retirement home, and she said she was like, when are you coming out with a large print edition? And we were like, we can barely get like, we're like working 2 part-time jobs and like spending our evenings like trying to make this magazine and put together and whatever, and like there's no way we're gonna get a. And then Will wrote her back and he said, hey, we're not going to be able to put out a large print edition, but we are going to send you Word documents of every article, and you can print them out at whatever size you want. And you can you can still read and enjoy the magazine. And she sent out like 30 subscriptions to friends for Christmas, and it was like we had no money for like marketing. We barely had enough money to like to get the magazines out the door, and it only grew through word of mouth. So that's kind of a sweet story.
That's the testament of just being like, you just being dope, like you're just being cool folks. It's like, well, I mean, you could have an art, like I'll send you the Word docs, like that. Again, like that to me, that lines up with like, that's my business model. Like how many times people have hit me like in my other world with music where they're just like, hey man, like I don't, I can't afford a $40 hoodie. Like, all right, I'll just send you one. Like, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? And then, and then it turns out like I can't tell you how many times it's been like, you were kind to somebody that like, went to pick up coffee, and then it turns out like, well, they're the head of curation at Spotify now. You know what I mean?
100%. Like, yeah.
Like, dude, you were like, and I'm like, dude, man, yeah, like, and I didn't, it wasn't like I was planning that. It was just like, you just treat people kindly.
Yeah, you aren't scouting who you're gonna get.
I was like, that guy's gonna be a mogul. Nah,
100%.
But you see, even in that story, man, you said so many things that like truly like resonate with me, because it's like I kind of discovered in college. I went for illustration in intercultural studies, like, and like I think my like love for hip hop was part of what made me be so interested in cultures, right? And just like what's going on around the world, where does these sounds come, where do these people come, like how do y'all dance, like so that kind of opened my mind to a lot more just being connected to the world. My father was a Black Panther, so I was already kind of like plugged in with like social movements and stuff, and just figuring out that I found a lot of things interesting, and really what I enjoyed about college was that, like, I joined the Filipino club. I joined the like Southeast Indian club. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause I was just like, I find it interesting. I want to know more.
Let me dive in completely.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't, as an art major, like I had to, I had my art classes, but I was taking stuff on earthquakes. I took an Asian American women class. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, I just found it all interesting. I had one of my poli-sci professors was like, who actually like wrote to the art department to get me to change majors. And I was like, you're tripping, bro. Anyway in the world. I'm like, I'm an artist. You know, here I am now doing a politics podcast. But like in that class, he was like, look, man, I use a real crass dude, but like I really stuck with me. He was like, man, really, really you go to college to sound smart at cocktail parties, you know, like, and I was like, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, you know a little bit about everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when
Yeah.
you're at the company mixer, you know, and you're chatting up the head of HR, you know, about the 3 laws of thermodynamics and like where it's an accounting job. You know what I mean? But you're like, you know, we're talking about like the Magna Carta being, you know, the
Yeah.
rough draft of what the Constitution becomes. And it's like, and I
Yeah.
know it's 1295. Like just knowing that stuff,
Yeah.
you're interesting. You know what I'm saying? So now when you
Yeah.
go to apply, it's like your resumes are the same. Anybody, and they'd rather train you on their system. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
not that you have a resume better than this person. It's like, nah, you're cool to be around because you're interesting. You have a lot of things. So like, it already felt like that's the way like I already functioned.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, man, but to your point, like I knew I didn't want to go to grad school. I was like, I don't have time to burn 1,000-page book, you
Yeah.
know, and like
Yeah.
I'm already a slow reader. Like that's something that's been true for me. I just read slow, you know, but like, you
No, me
know,
too.
yeah,
And
you know,
I mean, I was an anthropology major, like cultural anthropology, and part of
yeah,
the reason was like there were two reasons. One, I just found it fascinating to like dip into like any culture around the world and see
yeah,
like how they lived, how they looked at the
yes,
environment, how they looked at religion, how they looked at
yes,
what, you know, like food, like any
hmm,
that whole thing and that comparative sense of the world was really fascinating to me. But the other
yeah,
thing I really loved about it was that the writing, and I'm a slow reader. In fact, I have poor comprehension, so it takes me like slow time to
same,
like make sure I understand something and whatever.
same,
But so the thing I loved about anthropological writing and these ethnographies was that they weren't self-serious, they weren't
yes,
pedantic, they weren't like
yes,
talking down to you, they were
yes,
just like, and there was this thing called participant observation, and so like
hmm,
they would go try to live with a group in the Kalahari or a group in
hmm,
wherever, and they'd make fun of the fact that they pitched the tent in the wrong place and it flooded and everyone laughed
yes,
at them, or they, you
yes,
know, like all these things. Like it was, you're allowed to make mistakes, you're allowed to laugh at yourself, but you're also
yes,
like allowed to be fascinated. And to me, that was
absolutely,
like very much the tone of what, like everyone's welcome, you know, everyone's
yes,
welcome to hear this stuff, and
yes.
like, and it's not going to be hard to read, and
Oh, I
that
love it.
was like very much like part of the philosophy.
I loved it, man. I remember to that point too, like in the art history courses you have to take, I was always fascinated with like ancient civilizations, probably for the same reasons you're saying, where it's like if you know, drop yourself into, you know, the bottom of the Amazon and like people who this is their normal lives, you know what I'm saying? But like
Yeah.
they I remember they made a point in like one of my like sub-Saharan African classes. They're like, you go to a museum and what's on the wall framed behind glass, you know, boxes is a fork, a bowl, blanket. Like,
Yeah.
like, can you imagine that? Like it's a fork. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you are from this culture, like I always like pictured myself like, yeah, post-apocalypse, you know, time machine, going to a museum in, you know, some off-center place, and there's just like an iPhone charger just like hanging on the wall as like, oh, this was their early 21st century art. Like this is how
Yeah.
they live. I'm like, well, it's a bowl. Like why do you have a bowl on the wall? You know, so I think that like you said, that lack of self seriousness, like I love it because it's like I feel like you need that to stay healthy. Like again, like I remind myself whenever I have to dive into so much politics, I'm like, we're on a
Yeah.
rock spinning in space. Like we're on a rock spinning in space. Yeah. So I'm gonna fast forward you super far. So like, uh, you and Will, y'all invented podcasts, whatever. Like just early adapters, figured it out, knew what to do. What was the like light bulb? Like and let me give a little context to this. In my career leading up to this, the record label I was on for 10 years was called Humble Beast. It was started by like one of my closest friends. But like in 2007, he had the wherewithal to know that within like 10 years you're not going to be able to sell an album. Like so he was like, we'll just and give us your email address and we'll send you a download link. This was like we didn't conceive of streaming, but
Yeah.
but he conceived of like digital music and not being able to like they're gonna get your album.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's what we need. We need your contact info. So
Yeah.
like this is 2008, like him
That's
being like,
really, really
yeah,
savvy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like send us your email address. And then he was like, once we get an e-newsletter, that's how we'll tour. So we'll do it by like location and we'll tour just based
So smart.
on, yeah, like,
Yeah.
and I remember him bringing that to like different distributors and then being like, you out of your mind? And we were like, all right, well, let's just do it. And yeah,
Yeah.
for a good, 5 to 7 years before Spotify became a thing, like that's how we ate. That's how we toured was like,
Yeah.
why, like, who's the promoter you're using? I was like, we don't have one. We have 500 emails in this city. We just email them.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And yeah, so I now look at him like, what? How did you see that coming? You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I feel like you guys did that with podcasts. Like, how did you?
I think that from the Mental Floss days, we were always outsiders, right?
Yeah.
Like, we were making a magazine from like Birmingham, Alabama, instead of like
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of New York. We didn't have like the money or the trappings
Uh-huh.
and all that stuff, and we didn't have advertising for the magazine, right? And so like when you are outsiders, like you're always trying to like, for me, like the realization was that like the only thing that mattered was the connection to the audience, right?
Yes.
Like, and you needed an audience that really cared for you and
Yes.
really cared about you. And so like we worked extra hard to like make captions really funny, right? Like there were footnotes that were funny. There were like things that like things that no one else cared about or looked past. Like we like worked extra hard because like if you're caring about that thing, you're definitely caring about the article, right? And the way the article is shaped and the facts and all that stuff. And so like when we realized we couldn't make money off advertising, we figured out other ways. And so we'd like spent all this time making like funny headlines, right? But the headlines were ephemeral. They only last for so long. And so like so we took those and we put them on t-shirts and people started buying those, right? Like we realized, we at the time there were all these men's magazines, like lad magazines, and like they all had like swimsuit issues. And so like we decided to do our own swimsuit issue with like Albert Einstein and Eleanor Roosevelt and Louis Armstrong and like real historical photos. It was the worst selling issue in our history, but it was brilliant. But it got all this press. And then we turned that into like a book deal, right? Like, and so like everything was like, how do we do something else out of this? How do we delight our audience? And how do we like preserve that feeling that we're making something special for them continuously, right? And so we were at Mental Floss for like 17 years, I think, 16 or 17 years. And by that time we'd done everything from like, we'd done a TV show, we'd done with Nat Geo, it was called Brain Surgery Live. We did we did like 13 books, all these like the business had grown in various ways. Like there was a massive website, like all these things, and my whole thing was like, how do you still make this feel small? How do you still make this feel like you're talking directly to the reader? Right. Like, along the way, we sold the magazine. The guy who we loved was a crazy billionaire who decided to give all his properties to a forest in England, and so
Amazing.
so we were owned by a nonprofit that was a forest in England that owned a British company that owned an American company, and so like it was
what?
it was a structure that made zero sense. And when we kept proposing things, we were like, hey, we can do this book imprint, we can do this TV show, we can do this. And they're like, no, we just like, they weren't interested in anything. And so when we looked at non-compete, the only thing we hadn't done was audio. And How Stuff Works reached out to us and they were like, hey, do you want to help us make more ambitious things in audio? And the truth was, initially, I was like, no, I think I think I just want to like figure out something small that's like meaningful that I get my hands dirty,
Yeah.
And then the more we thought about it, it was like, oh, the fact that you're in someone's ear, the fact that people who listen to How Stuff Works were listening to 11 hours of content every week
Sheesh.
from this, this network, the fact that people really wanted this and there was opportunity to like, it just felt like there was something that could be done in the space that hadn't been thought of yet. And lots of things could be done in the space, lots of voices to bring in, lots of, like all of that. There was so much possibility and so much fun. And also like the people at the Stuff Network who at the time were like some of the LA crew, like Robert Evans coming in, like it just felt like, oh, this is a great time to be here,
Yeah, man. I feel like I missed a golden age. Like I came in a little late, but like that. I would say like that network is like, like how I actually became like a guy that likes pods. You know what I mean? Like, there was an era when it was like, do you listen to podcasts? Like that was like a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you into punk music? Like it was like that was your sub genre. You know what I'm saying? And that for me, like that network was like, dude, I think I like podcasts. And I think it's because of what you said, to where you're just like, I still like learning, And I think specifically that one was because, whether it was the music, the like justice work I was a part of, like a lot of the stuff that I do is just so intense. It's just so psychologically, emotionally, like it's taxing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, especially like right now, like talking about politics every week. I try to
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I try to quarantine it to 2.5 days out of my week to be like, okay, you only get 2.5 days, you know what I'm saying? But I'm also a citizen of the country. You know what I'm saying? So like this affects not podcaster prop, this affects Jason, like the California resident.
And it's hard. I mean, like on one hand, it Venn diagrams everything that you're interested in so beautifully, right? Like the way you can put the same spirit behind like getting a message out through a song, that same like artistry, like that same like the social justice work, the fact the teacher prop episodes, right? Like all these things, like they work beautifully together in this space, and honestly, like within this network, you have a voice that is distinct and necessary, and it's like like I told you before, I was like, I listened to the stuff you've done with Robert. I'd like been aware of stuff and I binge stuff, and then I started sending it to my son, right? And I was like, oh my son loves hip hop. He loves drill. He loves he loves jazz. He loves music, and he's trying to figure out how to be in this world. And he knows that like the voices that are coming through to him on TikTok aren't the right voices, and so like, how do you counter that? How do you find like, so like what you do is so important, and also like, of course you've got to protect yourself, right? Like because you're basically doing therapy for a world of listeners.
Woo! Boy. Yes, man. Thank you for that. You described like how I kind of want to be in the world, so I definitely appreciate that. And I think that brings us to what you guys are doing now, with kaleidoscope and with the you're counting down the 25. What it was? Wait, tell me. Say it correctly. I'm gonna say it wrong. Yeah.
It was the 25 most important science ideas of the last 25 years, but
25
they
most
were
important.
ridiculous things for the most part.
Ridiculous. It was exactly what I needed. Like exactly what I needed. I don't even want to spoil any of it. Like I purposefully wrote it like, don't tell at all what any of these want people to actually just go listen, because it's like it's yes, just they're ridiculous. I think you've kind of like already hit the head on the nail, like what I wanted to get from this show, which was just this the living in the tension of the seriousness and the levity that like you, whether it's, and from that level and from the meta level, because like, you know, you're that's like, this might sound more combative than I mean it to be, but I'm not trying to be combative. I'm just like, bro, you're like the way, like you're speaking about starting multiple multi-million-dollar businesses, and just like, oh yeah, we're just kids and trying to figure it out, and we don't have any money for this. Like, bro, wait, time out, homie. Like, come on, fam. I am like actively considering, like, I started a coffee company, and I'm like actively like figuring out how to wind it down, because I'm like, I don't know how to do this, and I'm not enjoying it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, starting a business, it all is hard. You know what I'm saying? And not fun. Yeah. But then starting one and then it works, and then selling it, like, are you kidding me? Like, you're an alien. Like, this is not easy.
I mean, the truth is, I got really lucky, and I got lucky in a lot of ways, right? Like, my dad had worked at a company where he had worked there for 29 years, and he was about to. The reason he'd stayed there that long, partially, was there was an agreement where like, if you get to 30 years there, you get your full pension, like all these things, like, and on his 29th year, they went through and cut everyone of his cohort. Like, and so, like, my dad had put all his life, he could have taken better jobs, etc. Right. Like at this company. And like, I was just going to college. My dad lost his job, and I was like, I don't trust corporations. I don't like, there's no one there who's looking out for me. My dad, like, did this incredible work there. He was like, like a very, very respected scientist, actually. And at the end of it, like, he was just dismissed. And also, I mean, this is completely separate, but like, I think part of the reason that I ended up starting Mental Floss is because my parents are immigrants, right? Living between two worlds, and totally. And when you're brown in like a mostly, it was diverse, but like a mostly white suburb or whatever, there's like a feeling of less than that like sometimes you can inhabit, and like, for me, like, this living in two worlds, where I'd go to India and be a certain person, come back to the States, like, when we'd save up enough to visit my grandparents or whatever, like, there were things that were just intimidating about the world. And so, like, something like art and art history was intimidating. There was like a barrier of entry to like understanding it. Something like, the way you walk into like certain rooms and can't talk about certain conversations, right? Like conversational topics, like, that is intimidating, and college can like ameliorate some of that. And like, reading certainly like can fix a lot of that. But for me, that's part of what the magazine was too. It was a leveler, right? Like, it was this way that I could satisfy like curiosity and whatever. And part of the reason we'd started the magazine too was, like, in my freshman year, I'd applied to all these publishing internships, and I didn't get a response from any of them. And I realized, oh, I'm an outsider. I'm going to have to do it myself, right? Like, if I'm going to want my name in print, there's no other way than like, and so for me, it's like, yeah, I got really lucky. I got Will as a partner, who's the most incredible, like smartest, like really savvy, really thoughtful person like that I could have
Wow.
had. And he had connections, and he like pulled me into those.
Yeah.
And he had like, like his dad had been in the States for a long time, for generations, right? And so like they
Yeah.
knew people in publishing, they knew people in, right? And so like I
Yeah.
got lucky that way. Like colleges, whatever college you go to, they're filled with professors who want to help you, right? And so
That's
like we
dope.
took
Yeah.
advantage of that, right? Like I said in the beginning, right? The fact that I'm willing to have conversations with anyone, right, is
Yeah.
and it's not always easy, right? Sometimes people have to bug me like 2 or 3 times, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
like but I will make time for people because so many people made time for me. And so like
So dope.
I just don't think I think that I got lucky. I don't think that business is I think that if you're doing something authentic and you're doing something that connects with people, and you're constantly trying to figure out like, how do I make this better for you? How do I make this a service for someone? Like how am I like entertaining or pleasing someone? Like if you're constantly thinking through that, like it isn't that hard.
Love it. I heard an interview. I'm trying to remember who the guy was. This is gonna make the quote suck because I can't remember exactly who it was. But he was asked like a similar question about like succeeding in business and like what do you like what's some of the key takeaways, and he was like, well, be born a white male in a rich family. Like he finally he just cut through it and was just like acknowledging in the funniest way the reality of just like, look, dude, I'm privileged. Like I am not unaware, and he's like, of course you got it. Like of course you got to work hard. Of course you got to hustle. Of course you got to put your 10,000 hours in. Of course you do. Right. But like, guys, it's like, can we just acknowledge, like you said, like, yo, you were like, yo, I love this shit. I was like, bro, I got lucky, man. Like Will's daddy's connected. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just happen to be at school with him. Like, and I think that like that for someone who's like every day grinding, you know what I'm saying? Like white knuckling, trying their best. I first, this obviously like the shadow of you becomes cynical, but then the other side is like, oh, that's great. That means that there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that
Yeah.
you have what it takes. You are being authentic. You are putting in the hours. You're making something that you can stand by. You know what I'm saying? That like, I remember I had another guy told me like, you just have to get this white boy played kind of like Blue-Eyed Soul type music. You know what I'm saying? He had like velvet voice. But he used to say, man, you just got to make something that's just like, just fuck off good. Where you're just like, it's so good, you just fuck off, man. This is amazing. And he's like, that's what you do. You make something just that like, no, they can't get this nowhere except from here. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that's true, but also everyone starts somewhere, right? And
yeah, totally.
And so like, the first time I remember reading Miles Davis's autobiography when I was in like 9th grade or something, and being like, oh, well, that first sentence is amazing. It's like the best feeling I remember having with my clothes on is listening to listening to Dizzy and Charlie
Love
Parker
it.
like playing music. But like you see the progress where he's like, oh, this guy who's a high schooler when I'm in 8th grade like plays these licks on the piano and they're unbelievable and that's something to aspire to, right? And like you're constantly like aspiring, you're constantly making something better. Like like the first magazine was riddled with so many errors that the printer it back to us to to fix all the they're like, no,
I
we
can't
can't
print this, guys. Like I know it's my job just to press print, but like I can't print this, dude. I'm not gonna let you go out like
we
that.
didn't put bylines on the table of contents for people, and like that was a huge issue. And finally we got the magazine printed. It had a UPC code, but it didn't have the it didn't have the price on it. And we were so proud that we had a UPC code on this magazine because we were like seniors in college, and so we had to like at Will's parents' dining room table, like everyone was stickering like prices and then mailing the magazine out. You know, I mean, like you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You know, like it's and everything that feels like it's going to be a success isn't like, you know, you think you're just waiting for like the big thing to hit, and the big thing is always like really great, but it's never like that big a thing, you know. It's always like a little bit better, a little bit. And so it's always like this constant building. And you know, to Will's parents' point, I mean, like his dad grew up very like I think lower middle class and in Alabama, and like he worked really hard and he made connections and stuff. But you know, where my dad didn't know anyone from college, Will's dad did, right? Like, you know, there's a line from I think it was like Warren Buffett's partner Charlie Munger said something like, "What's the fastest way to like make $100 million? Start with $10 million." You know, and that's exactly the same thing, right? It's like it's a lot easier when you get some of these like you know, baked in advantages in a country.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's super real. So I think lastly, I'm gonna get to like the politics part. So you have this amazing outlet that I know, like I go to this when I like need a break, you know, but like I don't like, I'm not like, I can't do the candy kind of like 420, you know, not 420 Beyonce. I don't want to make fun of Miles, but like 90 Day Fiance, like I don't find solace in that. Like, cause I'm like messiness stresses me out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like TMZ. Like I get more stressed with that. You know what I'm saying? I know it's vapid. I know it means nothing, but I'm just like, I hate this. But I go to like stuff that like what you guys do. But I think that there's a reality again that you still live in this world. You brought up the fact that like, you know, your parents are immigrants, you know what I'm saying? And just the reality of like, this is the world we live in, man. Like the obvious direction, you know, I'm assuming nothing about your politics except for your knowledge of history, which would be like, it's hard to not see what's happening here. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So my question is like, in what ways are you sort of taking care of yourself, like moving in the world and just in the ways that you're already making the world better by the content you're making, but in ways that like could be things that our listeners could hear as like, this is how we moving through these times right now.
Yeah. You know, it's different for every person, every family. Sure. And I think that I have a younger kid who's non-binary, mm-hmm. and to have and one of the places that we felt was safest is New York City, right? Like you feel it's kind of an enclave for like people who are different. And I mean, it attracts all sorts of weirdos and artists, et cetera, right? Like, and to get notes from the pediatrics division at NYU that say they're no longer providing services for kids who are dealing with issues of gender, like it was really sort of heartrending. And you see, I live in Brooklyn. The amount of homelessness around me, like it's just all the unhoused population here is like, it's just like it is. You see it all around you, and you see the devastation around you, and the ways that community hasn't been working, you know, like, or hasn't shown up, and I think that's hard to see. And then on the other side of it, right, like you see so many people pulling together in really beautiful and incredible ways, and so like I think to me, like community gardens really are like a place of you know, where you see older people and younger people mixing. Like I play a lot of tennis, and I play with anyone who wants to play, and to me, just like finding common ground and then having conversations from there. And I play with people on different parts of the spectrum, like in terms of politically, and trying to like remind people like who we are and why we're here. And I belong to a co-op in Park Slope, and part of my favorite thing about it is that it reminds me how lucky, like when you're receiving groceries and you're like putting them, like moving the boxes and like separating things or whatever, like it's hard work. And I go in like it's almost like a tourist, right? Like for 3 hours, like every few weeks, and it's a reminder of like, oh, these bodegas don't get stocked by themselves, right? Like like we don't use like a lot of the fresh delivery stuff, like because you're so removed from like the actual work and the people, and to me, it's like the other thing that's really I love about the co-op, and my favorite thing is like there's a shelter near us, and part of the co-op is like taking the food over, but also like participating in like giving coffee to people in the mornings, and queuing people up for getting meals, and just remembering that all these people are human, and that they want meals. They're like struggling to like be there, and it's just like there's so much awfulness in the world, and to realize at the end of the day that there are all these people who are just like trying to make their days work, their lives work, and really good people. It's just like it's hard not to feel better about your day when you get to hand a cup of coffee to someone, and it's hard not to feel grateful for all the things you do have when you see those things.
I have nothing to add to that. Thank you so much.
Don't be ridiculous. I mean, it's really, really lovely to be here chatting with you. If you're ever coming through New York, please hit me up. Honestly, like I mean that, and I really love your show, and I'm going to keep evangelizing it. So
thank you so much. So last thing, like with us, like plug all the spots. Plug where can they find you? Where can they find the shows? Tell everybody what you're working on, and then we'll let you go from here.
Yeah, of course. Will and I do a show called Part-Time Genius. It's basically like an excuse for us to hang out the same way we used to hang out in our dorm rooms in college. And so it's still really fun to do. On Kaleidoscope, I think your audience might like, there's a show called Wild Chocolate, which is basically like an Indiana Jones of chocolate. And it's science, but it's really like an adventure story, and so like I think they might dig that. So
that's dope. Yeah, so please just go to Kaleidoscope, go to the network. There's so many dope shows there. The 25 most important science for the last 25 years. I'm begging you to go listen to that series. Man, thank you so much.
This was really delightful. Thanks, bro.
All right. All right, now don't you hit stop on this pod. You better listen to these credits. I need you to finish this thing so I can get the download numbers, okay? So don't stop it yet. But listen, this was recorded in East Los Boyle Heights by your boy Propaganda. Tap in with me at prophiphop.com. If you're into cold brew coffee, we got Terraform Cold Brew. You can go there.com and use promo code HOOD, get 20% off, get yourself some coffee. This was mixed, edited, and mastered by your boy Matt Osowski, killing the beat softly. Check out his website, mattosowski.com. I'm going to spell it for you because I know. MATTOSOWSKI.com, mattosowski.com. He got more music and stuff like that on there, so go and check out the heat. Hood Politics is a member of Cool Zone Media, executive produced by Sophie Lichterman, part of the iHeartMedia Podcast Network. Your theme music and scoring is also by the one and only Matt Osowski, still killing the beat softly. So listen, Don't let nobody lie to you. If you understand urban living, you understand politics. These people is not smarter than you. We'll see y'all next week.